14-year-old Michael Carneal enjoyed playing games such as Quake, Doom, and Redneck Rampage, games in which the player shoots to kill. In December of 1997, Carneal killed 3 students and hurt 5 others at his high school in Kentucky. Mitchell Johnson, 13, and his cousin Andrew Golden, 11, played game Mortal Kombat, a notorious violent fighting game. They killed 5 people and hurt 10 others at their middle school in Jonesboro, Arkansas, in March of 1998. All these boys had one thing in common. They all played violent video games and also committed extreme acts of violence. Many people believe the two are connected, but research believes there is no connection between violence in video games and violence in the real world. The connection shown with violent video games is they make players more aggressive, not more violent. To many people's surprise, in 2013, youth violence was at its lowest in over 40 years. Psychologist Christopher Ferguson believes, like anything else, gaming should be enjoyed in moderation, balanced with outside activity and allowing enough time for family and schoolwork. I mostly believe it is up to the parent to decide if their children should be allowed to play such violent video games. The Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB, is in charge of deciding the ratings each of the games receives. In the case of the 3 children, the games they were playing were all rated M, for mature. ESRB describes mature games as content is generally suitable for ages 17 and up, may contain intense violence, blood, and gore, sexual content, and/or strong language. The only reason that these children and many children in the world today are playing such violent, mature video games is because their parents are going to stores such as Best Buy, GameStop, or many other gaming stores and buying the games for their children who are not of age to play them. In 2011, video game sales were at $70 million, which means a lot of people, not just children, are playing video games, which makes it easy for the media and other organizations to link video games and violence together. Ferguson said about Sandy Hook shooter Adam Lanza, "Almost all young men play violent video games, at least occasionally. It's both easy and valueless to link crimes by young men to video games. In doing so, we fail to learn from past mistakes," which is very true. It is easy to put the blame for tragic events on certain products, such as video games. But to me, the argument can also be made that violent movies and television shows can also lead to real-life violence. It is easier for people to blame these things rather than to look at the bigger picture and change anything else that is happening. Being a college student, I also enjoy playing violent video games. One of my favorites being the notorious violent video game series Grand Theft Auto, in which the player has free range in an open world to do whatever he or she pleases. I've been playing video games for most of my life. Not once have I ever played a game in which I committed virtual acts of violence and thought to myself, hey, I now want to leave my house, buy a weapon, and try to copy the things I've done in the video game in real life. Stuff like that just does not happen. The main thing video games do to me and many other people is make us more aggressive and irate, which sometimes leads to myself breaking controllers, which many of other video game players can relate to. Since so many people in the world today are buying violent video games, it is easy to connect the video games to the violent crimes, when most of the time it is the person who has some type of tragic event happen to them and they just explode and bad things happen. I think the case can also be made that bread products can lead to violence because many of the killers probably had something with bread in it before committing their crimes. So making the claim bread is the reason for people committing acts of violence is just as believable as saying video games do the same thing.